Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 2509 Burning 1. The flames from the reverse spear were just right, enough to destroy Yang Xinshin's air wall. Not a single point off. This means that his ability is to destroy the target object with just the right amount of energy. Therefore, you can't feel much energy fluctuation. It's almost as if the target has been redefined. An unusual light flickered in Yang Xinshin's obsidian-like eyes. Is it outwardly a flame, but actually a power based on rules? While she was pondering, the flames had already pierced through her multiple defenses and were heading straight for her body. This time, Yang Xinshin didn't try to fight back. She already had a basic understanding of the other party's abilities, but she needed to confirm them again. So the three colored wings behind the fallen puppet suddenly flapped, carrying her quickly away from the original area. The scattered flames passed through the spot where she had just been and shot into the distance, immediately striking a huge rock pillar. The rock pillar burst into flames the instant it was struck. As if ignited from the inside out by an invisible hand, flames shot straight up to the top of the tower along the veins. So, it was burning. Yang Xinshin said calmly. Rocks cannot be burned. They only melt due to high temperatures. Therefore, the signs of burning in the rock tower we see before us completely defy the rules of physics. There is only one explanation. The ability of the reverse halberd is to burn matter, and it just so happens that it can lower the ignition point of all matter to a level above the standard that allows it to burn. This also explains why Fatty Sue's ice wall evaporated into water vapor in an instant. Because the ignition point was just reached and she looked out over the whole world. In this world where underground magma rivers flow everywhere, even the temperature in the air is several hundred degrees. Any substance will immediately ignite if its ignition point is lowered below the normal temperature of this area. Yang Xinshin even remarked that this ability was extremely abnormal. Even the most durable E-metal will ignite instantly upon contact. Fortunately, the people dealing with him weren't like Uncle Yu or Liang Yu. Otherwise, if they had been hit, their bodies would have been set on fire instantly. However, if Niji knew that Yang Xinshin had analyzed his abilities based on the information before and after their fight in just a moment, he would definitely be terrified. Because his ability is Ignition Point. He can reduce the ignition point of any target touched by spark to 250 degrees Celsius. He forcibly lowered the ignition point of all matter to room temperature. In this world of magma, the normal temperature in the air is 800 degrees Celsius. The result is that any substance, once exposed to the flammable substance, will spontaneously combust. Whether it's people, objects, soil, rocks, they're all the same. The better something conducts heat, the faster it burns. On a physical level, he is the nemesis of all superhumans. Unfortunately, the person he encountered was also a user of rule-based abilities. Moreover, he was an even smarter rule-based ability user. As everyone knows, the strength or weakness of rule-based abilities, which have the greatest gap between their upper and lower limits, depends entirely on how the ability user uses them. You dodged very quickly, so what about this move? With a flick of his crescent halberd, a dense burst of red sparks shot out from midair, like hundreds of tiny meteors, instantly piercing the air and hurtling straight toward Yang Xinshin's chest. The energy fluctuations were very weak, seemingly even weaker than a casual strike from a delta level in human. But what it needs is not the ability to destroy the world, but the ability to just burn its target to ashes. Yang Xinshin's eyebrows twitched, her expression indifferent, and she had already made up her mind. Click-clack. The angel puppet raised its bow, the bowstring taut, and a massive vortex of energy appeared in its hand. The golden arrow of light shot off the bow, instantly multiplying into hundreds of thousands of arrows. It was densely packed, like a large net cast out, covering the entire sky in front of Yang Xinshin. It can burn everything it touches, but if it can't reach its target, is it useless? She said it calmly. Golden arrows rained down, a truly beautiful and spectacular sight. An arrow struck a ball of flame with a ding and instantly vanished in midair. Then came the second one, the third one, until all the sparks were blocked by Yang Xinshin's golden rain of arrows. It's a smart move. They may not know what my abilities are, but as long as they don't get touched by the flames, they'll be fine. Niji chuckled lightly. That's what you think, isn't it? He raised his crescent halberd and rapidly tapped it in midair. Red light rained down, and reds appeared in clusters. An even more massive bombardment has begun. The two began to clash in midair using their rule-based abilities. The result of the collision was that neither of them could do anything to the other for the time being. The two were also testing each other's abilities and grasping the specific values. Even if you guess the opponent's ability, if you can't figure out the specific values, taking action rashly will put you in a completely passive position. However, their reckless fighting style, which disregarded the lives of others, caused harm to everyone else around the battlefield. This is the City of Flame Prison, and the entire area within a radius of hundreds of kilometers is a battlefield. The golden rain of light and the clusters of red sparks will always escape, affecting innocent bystanders. On one side of the fiery prison city, a mech was hit in the shoulder armor and spontaneously combusted. Heat surged back from the cockpit, and the alloys sagged like wax. On the other side, the bridge was struck by a rain of golden arrows, and the bridge body collapsed as if it had been pierced by 8 invisible fire nails, with flames roaring in the gaps. The rule of the meme arrows attached to the rain of arrows is to cause anything hit to self-destruct. As expected, it's a terrifying ability. But you can escape. Reverse Halberd stepped forward, raising his halberd to his shoulder. Wherever I point, fire will break. Yang Xinshin pursed her lips, her gaze calm, arrogant. The initial standoff is almost over. It's time for her to break the deadlock and secure the kill. She raised her hand, and from among the fallen golem's arrows, a mimetic arrow was fully drawn and then shot out. The arrow tipped and pierced him, but instead stuck in the space between the two of them, its fletching trembling slightly, as if writing a sentence in the air. A mosaic appeared, and from that moment on, the nature of the air changed. You are water mist. This is an arrow written to air. She changed her perception of the small circle of air in front of her to water mist. Combustion requires 3 elements: a combustible material, oxygen, and the temperature required to reach the ignition point. Water vapor does not have the ability to burn. As the spark of the rebellious spear rose against the sky and touched the air, Yang Xinshin's eyes were also fixed on this spot. There is no water here, so it is not humid. It's just that the air is hypnotized, making it mistakenly believe it is water vapor. Chapter 25 10 Burning 2. Within Yang Xinshin's visible range, she saw that the void area burned up. Water vapor that cannot be ignited, water vapor that can isolate oxygen, was still ignited. In other words, it makes no sense to use this method. He even changed the definition of burning. Yang Xinshin obtained more intelligence. Niji was unaware of what Yang Xinshin had done. In fact, he felt nothing at all. Whether it turns air into a shield or water vapor, it will burn and be destroyed upon contact with its sparks. However, he had a feeling that the other party was conducting an experiment. Her abilities seemed to go beyond simply summoning a combat puppet. Niji noticed this, so he frowned and immediately launched an even more ferocious and violent attack. It's useless. No defense can withstand my starfire. I'd like to see how many more tricks you have up your sleeve. He pointed his halberd forward, and endless sparks rose from behind him, flowing upwards towards Yang Xinshin like a galaxy. The river of sparks surged backward, then transformed into a chaotic storm, shooting towards Yang Xinshin from different directions. Yang Xinshin's hands remained steady as the second arrow flew from the fallen puppet's hand, spreading throughout the space around her. The message to oxygen was completed. I am an inert gas. The arrow of memes, cognitive modification. In the space around her, oxygen forgot that it could support combustion and became as indifferent as helium and argon. She wanted to test whether combustion could still occur without the help of the second condition for combustion, oxygen. Tens of thousands of ignition points drilled into this area, like plunging into a pool of dull water. The heat collapsed sharply, bright but unable to ignite. For the first time, Niji remained silent. He was shocked to discover that his ignition point had suddenly stopped working. Yang Xinshin's lips curled up slightly. Although you can find the ignition point of all substances, you cannot change the combustion itself. She only needs to completely change the combustion environment in the air to disable the reverse halberd's power. Niji paused, his expression turning serious. Although I don't know what you've done, I will definitely shatter your defenses. He raised his crescent halberd once more, igniting sparks in midair. An even more powerful attack, as if it were about to set the entire sky ablaze, rained down on Yang Xinshin. The ignition point wove a dense red net around Yang Xinshin. He no longer pursued targeting a specific point, but instead filled the surrounding space little by little, leaving only a small space around her, forcing her to move and forcing her to make mistakes. Yang Xinshin took a deep breath, and the angel puppet's bowstring was drawn to its fullest extent. She neither shoots the reverse spear nor the red. Her arrows are aimed at the rules of the material world. The next volley of arrows pierced through the air, embedding themselves in the larger space between the two, writing the harshest words of the day. None of you are oxygen. You are damp. You are the cold mist. You are ashes. It's not about giving air to a particular place, but about giving it to that key participant in the ignition chain. She gently pushed aside all the cognitive subjects involved in the burning within the realm of the reverse halberd. With this arrow falling, the red internet seemed to have a hidden thread pulled out, and its overall popularity immediately dropped a notch. They still have the ignition point, but they are like lamps with their wicks pulled out, their light meaningless. Niji, his face grim, pressed down with his fingertips, determined to reconnect the chain of ignition. The veins on the back of his hand bulged, and he shouted in a low voice, "Burn!" Unfortunately, Yang Xinshin had already completely figured out how to deal with him. She looked down, her smile as cold as a judge's. The fallen golem unleashed its most brutal volley of arrows. You do not exist. Air doesn't exist, so it's a vacuum. Since it doesn't exist, how could it possibly be ignited? In this round, the countless sparks of rebellion were extinguished the moment they entered the false vacuum. Niji's sparks went completely silent, and his attacks could no longer cause any damage to Yang Xinshin. Later on, the arrows shot by Yang Xinshin's fallen puppet turned the entire area around him into a vacuum. The moment their breath stopped, the surrounding magma visibly dimmed. Niji's eyes widened, and his pupils contracted rapidly. At this moment, he finally understood what Yang Xinshin's abilities were. The girl in the black dress and armor, calm and wise, cracked his ability in less than a minute. Her true ability was to modify the rules. I thought it was already quite remarkable that I could define the rules of ignition point. But her ability is to define everything. In principle, Yang Xinshin can do the same thing he can do. With the help of the giant fallen golem, Yang Xinshin approached the area and effortlessly fired a huge black arrow. Unable to ignite the flames, his fighting ability was gone, and he finally closed his eyes and quietly awaited death. But the death I had anticipated did not come. Instead, after he opened his eyes, a pink light shone in them. Upon seeing Yang Xinshin slowly descending, he respectfully knelt down before her. I will give you everything, my master. The arrow of love and desire controls everything. Yang Xinshin disliked killing with her own hands, finding it rather inelegant. She believed that controlling the overall situation, especially controlling people's hearts, was the most interesting thing. Immediately issue an order for all warriors of the Zhurong clan to cease resistance. Yes, sir. At this very moment, the warriors of Flame Prison City are still resisting. The military strength here is stronger than that of the Lava River, and they have made preparations in advance. Originally, the Heavenly Army Corps would not have been able to conquer this place so easily. Even if we manage to capture it, there will be some casualties. However, as soon as the second-in-command, Niji, spoke, more than half of the Zhurong warriors immediately surrendered. Of course, they had doubts in their hearts, but they were all the best soldiers. The best warriors are guided by the fundamental duty of obeying orders. No one doubts that their powerful and respected deputy commander would betray them and the Zhurong clan. Yang Xinxin issued an order to the Tianhai Army Corps to temporarily halt the attack on the disarmed Zhurong warriors and concentrate firepower on those who refused to surrender. At the same time, Niji issued an order to the entire army, declaring that the land people had come to liberate them and that there was a traitor among the Zhurong clan. The gist of it was something like purging the court of corrupt officials. Anyway, the Zhurong warriors chose to believe what he said. Thus, on the main battlefield, the Tianhai Legion quickly achieved victory. Then they also buried and killed all the surrendered soldiers. Chapter 25 11 Burning 3. The flames gradually subsided, and the city's shadow crumbled. Zhang Yi dragged the eternal sword of judgment back from the sky above the rocky sea, the dark light on his black armor gradually receding. Ling's weapon is truly effective. Even now, Lu Karen finds it impossible to crack its materials in the slightest. This material is very strange. It is as hard as the core of a star, but it is not heavy at all, weighing only a little over 200 kilograms. The key is that it can be made large or small. This weapon is already a conceptual weapon, and its materials are probably entirely new material elements created by the Aihen race themselves. Zhang Yi used it with great ease. It could perfectly bear all of Zhang Yi's power, and the sharpness of the blade alone could easily cut through the armor made of e-metal. Zhang Yi killed Song Huoliu and instantly teleported to the sky above the entire Yenyu city. In this enormous city, the fighting had almost ceased. Azure Fire Flow is dead. Zhang Yi raised Song Huoliu's head and projected it into the sky above Yenyu city, so that everyone could clearly see that their guardian deity was dead. This shocking scene was like the sky falling for the Zhurong clan. Many people let out painful and desperate cries, and the remaining half of the warriors who fought to the death lost all will to fight. The battlefield was cleared even faster, and the soldiers of the Sky Navy Corps fought with increasing ferocity, sweeping away the situation like autumn leaves in the wind. Under the sky, the three ships and the Sky Sea Fortress patrolled silently, their main guns cooling into rings of dark blue light. The mechanical legions spread like a tide through the city streets, while the flags and lanterns of the Shadow Army flickered in and out of the high-temperature smoke. Zhang Yi landed atop a broken tower and looked around. This ancient civilization, which has been passed down for hundreds of millions of generations, is about to be completely destroyed in his hands. There were some feelings of emotion, but more than anything, there was joy and pride. Anyone who offends Zhang Yi, if you cannot defeat me, will be punished no matter how far away you are. Of course, if the opponent is very strong, then we'll deal with them later. After all, a gentleman takes revenge even after 10 years. Zhang Yi's voice was not loud, but it clearly carried across all the Legion's communication channels. Everyone, you've worked hard. Don't pursue the remnants yet. Stabilize the control of the entire city. Uncle Yu, Liang Yu, each of you lead a team to clear out the area according to the plan, prioritizing the collection of energy, data, and key equipment. Beware of any traps the enemy may set, and avoid unnecessary sacrifices. Clear. Uncle Yu clasped his hands in a fist salute, his voice booming. Receive. Liang Yu sheathed her sword, her gaze calm. The next instant, the sound of wings flapping came from the shadows. Yang Xinxin stood in the palm of the fallen puppet and slowly descended. Beside her was a kneeling figure, the deputy commander of Yenyu City, Niji. His wings were tattered, his armor was mottled, and his pupils held only submission and reverence. Zhang Yi asked, "Is he a very important person?" Yang Xinxin nodded. Fire Ghost, the deputy commander of Yenyu City, is already dead. I think keeping him around would be very useful. I have a question for you. Zhang Yi stared at him, his tone flat. Where is the Fire Marrow Sacred Pool? The fire demon had told Zhang Yi that the kingdom of Zhurong was divided into 3 regions. The outermost layer, guarding the core, is bounded by hundreds of flowing lava rivers, serving as the protector of the kingdom of Zhurong. The second level, Flame Prison City, is even stronger and is also the core area for breeding. The third level is the most important secret realm of the kingdom of Zhurong, the sacred pool of fire marrow. Zhang Yi wondered if it was due to the translation by the intelligent system, but he found the name Fire Marrow Sacred Pool to be somewhat mysterious. However, a direct translation might be Lava Pool, as his intelligent system still retains some of the humanistic sentiments of the Huaxiu Kingdom. However, the fire ghost said that he only knew that the Fire Marrow Sacred Pool existed, but that place was important and mysterious, and only a very few people knew its location. Even an important figure like the fire demon cannot get there without a guide. Zhang Yi was prepared that when he attacked Yanyu City, the Yanyu overlord of the Fire Marrow Sacred Pool would also attack, joining forces with Song Huolu to attack him. However, no one from the Fire Marrow Sacred Pool appeared until the City of Flame Prison was completely destroyed. This made Zhang Yi very curious. What was so strange about that place? Niji raised his eyes, his Adam's apple bobbing as if he were pulling words from his chest. The Fire Marrow Sacred Pool is not a pool, but a coffin that can float in magma. The sacred coffin is guarded by a fiery prison overlord, Flame. If our race faces extinction, it will carry the fire down the underground river along the ley lines. The deeper it goes, the higher the temperature becomes, sometimes reaching tens of thousands of degrees. No other race can survive without us. The passage is ancient, known only to the Guardians, and no one else is allowed to ask or learn it. Zhang Yi suddenly understood everything, let alone ancient civilizations and races. Even he understands the principle of having 3 burrows. After surviving a dangerous situation, one will always leave oneself a way out. Moreover, these are races that survived from ancient times and managed to escape crises time and time again. The Fire Marrow Sacred Pool is an escape pod for preserving the flame. They will not participate in any external wars, only in order to preserve the last hope of their people. That's incredibly clever. Zhang Yi couldn't help but sigh. Where exactly is the entrance? Don't you even know? Zhang Yi looked at him, her tone indifferent, yet every syllable was precise. Tell me as much as you can about which magma vein lies beneath the city, and which is the symbol of the Fire Marrow Sacred Pool. Niji exhaled with difficulty. The entrance is a living mouth, not a door. When the tides of a certain group in the Rock Sea are in sync, the 3 fire bells must be rung, and then the cold flames must be used to ignite them in the opposite direction. The holy coffin will float up with the vortex for a moment. The fire bells were cut off by you just now. Even if they hadn't been cut off, it wouldn't have waited in place. Zhang Yi remained silent for 2 breaths. Yang Xinxin's abilities were absolute, so there was no lie behind Niji's story. It's a pity that Song Huolio was spared at the time. Yang Xinxin shot him with an arrow, so he must have known the location. No, it's highly likely that the Fire Marrow Sacred Pool had already begun its escape when the Azure Fire Stream showed signs of defeat. Yang Xinxin frowned slightly. Is it impossible to completely eradicate the problem? Zhang Yi said, I'll go take a look. He would seize any opportunity to thoroughly eliminate any potential threats. As soon as he finished speaking, the dimensional gate opened, and he slid into the rocky sea like a streak of black light. In an instant, the heat and pressure converged, and the reflection of the distant fire tower stretched into red lines on the molten surface. In the next instant, he was thousands of meters underground. Magma surged like a river flowing backwards. The winds from the Earth's core spewed from the cracks, and the temperature was like an invisible wall. He opened dozens of dimensional portals in succession amidst the dark rock formations and the scorching, dazzling rivers of lava, moving up, down, left, and right like lifting layers of curtains to search for hidden traces. Because once the Fire Marrow Sacred Pool plunges into the Earth's core at high speed, it will inevitably cause rapid flow of magma, which is the trace that can be discovered. Here ends today's chapter. I hope you liked it. Kindly do also subscribe to my gaming channel. I have to Fina a way to survive. Thanks.